good to see you again. I got your usual. I hope that's okay. Cool. How are you? Good. Yeah, I'm been alright. Work's been really busy. We're coming up on the end of fiscal year, so there's a lot to do with that. Gotta get ready for audit. That's always a mess. So a lot of like pre-work for that. It's also been weird being on my own again, to be honest. It's been a long time since I was on my own. Pretty much since before Ben. It's taken a lot of adjusting. What about you? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, makes sense. I know we check in a lot with texts and stuff, but it's different to hear it in person. It feels a little more tangible. I'm glad the therapist has been a good fit so far. I know how tough it can be to find one that feels right. It can take a while, and that can be a lot. Yeah. Yeah, my old one, it took a while to find them, but I mean, I've been through all that again, though, trying to find a new one, too. No, my old one's great. She's great, but um, she's not, she doesn't know about magic. and, and talking through everything that's happened and the feelings around all of that, um, it's not really something that can be completely talked through without more context than I could give her without breaching covert. So, I got with informed, unempowered resources to find someone that I could get into detail with. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it took a little bit. There's kind of a different dynamic there with some of them. I mean, the whole empowered and unempowered situation, and then also just the normal personality differences kind of thing. But this new one's a good fit. Yeah, she's good. She's been helpful. Yeah. I mean, I had work that I needed to do too. Um, a relationship's a two-way street, and I had a hand in how everything went down too. I needed perspective on everything, um, an outside perspective, and it helped a lot. I um, I think that I thought that because of everything that I'd been through before, um, that I knew how to avoid certain situations and how to prevent them and how to identify them. And I think that I definitely had better tools to do that than I had before, but every situation is different, and our relationship in particular was very different. Um, not least of which because magic. And sometimes the tools in your toolbox don't work for the new job, you know? I could only apply so much of what I'd learned from before to us. And I think I took longer to figure that out than was helpful. I feel like that made it so I didn't know how to talk about where I was with everything until it was already in a crisis mode. So it was always reactive and never proactive. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. I do want to say that it feels good to see that this is important to you, that it's something that you are engaging with and working on and trying. I see that work. And I know it's a lot of work. And I think it's really admirable that you're doing it and sticking to it. Does it feel like it's helping? Helping you, I mean. Not for us, not in that context. I mean, for you, for everything that you've got that's been that hasn't been something you were able to work through before. Um, has this felt like it's helping? Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Good. I mean, I know I said it back then, but I meant it, and I still mean it. Out of all of this, I want you to be at a place where you can find some peace and where you can heal. Because what was coming out was coming from somewhere within. And I know you had a lot of hurt. And I know you weren't trying to hurt anyone. You weren't trying to hurt me. Having time apart, having time away, having space to think through and talk through some of the stuff on my own end. I know that a part of the problem was also in the way I was framing our relationship and the way that I was not just approaching it, but how I was participating in it. Ben was very emotionally abusive. Being with him stripped away so much of my self-confidence and my sense of safety and agency, and I was barely out of that relationship and out of that really damaging situation when I jumped into a relationship with you. I really wasn't in a good mindset within myself to be pursuing a relationship at that moment. I really should have taken some more time to try to actually work through what I'd been through, but I didn't, and that informed a lot of my behavior within our relationship, especially early in it. And that informed the way that I thought and talked about our relationship and what it meant to me and what you meant to me. I used a lot of language that I feel put a lot of expectation on you. I said a lot of things to the effect of that you drew things out of me that I didn't know about myself, that that you caused me to be more open, and that felt like it was healing after everything I'd been through, that that you felt like that you felt like the thing that saved my life, that you saved me from myself and from the destructive cycles in my head, that you were the one thing that could snap me out of those cycles, that you were the one person who could pull me out of that dark place, that you could make me feel okay again. I can't really speak for your side of things, but I feel like, from the way that you've described your reasoning and your feelings regarding pushing me to be more open and more unfiltered, that there was almost this implicit sense of responsibility to try to help me, to try to dig deeper, to try to stay ahead of that destructive cycle in my head, since you had the ability to be in my head and to see it and to hear it as it was starting. And you had said that often when I would ask why, you would say that you were trying to help. And in that sense, when I took a step back to really try to examine everything and the way that I felt about everything, I can see, on one hand, where a feeling of almost an obligation to try to help in the ways that you knew how could arise. So I think I can understand that aspect of it now. That said, none of that negated my boundaries that I had asked of you, or the fact that those boundaries should have been respected and weren't. None of that changed the fact that it felt like my trust and my sense of safety had been breached. Like, to be blunt, it's not like rolling back the clock and starting back at zero when it comes to trust. It's starting at less than zero. It's in the red after everything that went down. And if we're going to rebuild that between us, it's going to take a lot of work on both of our parts. But for my part, I think that work is worth it. And I see that you've been putting in that work so far, and I feel I have too. You've been an incredibly important part of my life for years. I love you. I loved you then, and I love you now. You are worth work and effort. I want us both to heal from the things that have gotten us to this moment, to this table in this coffee shop, drinking this really bad coffee. I felt good. Do you want to go for a walk? We could get some fresh air, and it would be a little quieter. I'd like to hear more about what you've talked through and where you're at with things so far, if you want to talk about it. Okay. Let's go.